Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
So good to see everyone here. Welcome. So excited to have you joining us once again this week as we join together as community for Shabbat. Rabbi Shapiro, Rami Shapiro, in the quotation on our Shabbat Shalom slide, um, reminds us that the pursuit of wisdom is important because through it, of course, we gain understanding and perspective, but wisdom can only take us so far. To truly know, we have to be able to experience the uplifting of the spirit, the celebration that gives life meaning and purpose. One has to know joy. Shabbat provides us that opportunity not only to grow in wisdom, but through the joy of this moment as we come together as community to dwell momentarily, at least here in God's presence. It is this sense of joy that has sustained generations of our people, a moment in time dedicated to standing joyfully with God. So let us welcome that moment as generations have by lighting our Shabbat candles, by joining together and lighting our Shabbat candles. If you have candles with you, I invite you to join with us in this moment. And then once we have lit the candles, to join with the mystics of Tzfat, who journeyed into their fields to joyfully welcome Shabbat into their presence, and with Shabbat, of course, God's presence as well, with the singing of Lecha Dodi. We'll begin with the lighting of our Shabbat candles.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת, להדליק נר של שבת. לקראת שבת
Shabbat, if you would like, we invite you to please rise where you are.
בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי, לקראת חלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת חלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
If you are standing and like to remain so, we'll join together now in the Baruch.
Come, come all of you, come all of us, bless the one who blesses. Come, come all of you, come all of us, bless the one who blesses. Blessed is the blessed one, blessed is the giver of blessing. Blessed is this moment now and every now to come. Blessed is the blessed one. Blessed is the giver of blessing. Blessed is this moment now and every now to come. Come all of you, come all of us, bless the one who blesses. Come, come all of you, come all of us, bless the one who blesses. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Come all of you, come all of us, bless the one who blesses. Come, come all of you, come all of us, bless the one who blesses.
The great faiths teach a different kind of wisdom, reverence in the face of creation, responsibility to future generations, and restraint in the knowledge that not everything we can do should we do. Through our acts of reverence, responsibility, and restraint, we echo the words we are about to say, serving as living witnesses, as the Shema reminds us, with the very words with which it is written, serving as witnesses to God's ultimate unity in humanity, in nature, and in all of creation. If you would like, I invite you to rise once again, or remain seated as you wish as we join together in the Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Strange is our situation here upon earth. Each of us comes for a short visit, not knowing why, yet sometimes seeming to divine a purpose. From the standpoint of daily life, however, there is one thing we do know, that we are here for the sake of others. Above all, for those on whose smile and well-being our own happiness depends. And also for the countless unknown souls with whose fate we are connected by a bond of sympathy. Many times a day I realize how much my own outer and inner life is built upon the labor of others, both living and dead, and how I earnestly must exert myself in order to give in return as much as I have received, and I am still receiving. With the words of Micha Mocha, we are reminded of the gifts that we have received and of our responsibility to return those gifts to bring freedom to those still searching for their own freedom. We join together in these words.
מי כמוך בעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך בוקר לפני משה ומרים, זעי, זעי, Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. In the darkness of the night, when I'm scared to close my eyes, won't you ease my troubled mind? Hashkivenu Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha in the shadow of your wings. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha in the promise morning brings. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Hashkivenu Adonai Hashkivenu Leshalom. Baruch atah Adonai Haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
Even as we prepare to join together in the Amidah as community, we turn inward. We turn towards the quieting of our mind, the calming of our bodies, in order that we might be able to hear the still, small, and quiet voice within ourselves, urging us toward that which is loving and precious and sacred within. And so, if you are able, I would invite you to stand as we join together in the words that will appear on the next screens, or to join together in the words that appear in your own hearts. We turn to the Amidah. We ask for the healing of those suffering illness of body or mind or spirit. As we turn in a moment to those who we hold in our hearts, those that we are asking for their healing, we pray, Mishabeach, may it be your will, God of our fathers and mothers, that you cast the light of health and well-being on those who have been exposed to coronavirus, those who have contracted the disease, and those who contract the disease in the future, God forbid. Bless them, protect them, and bring them speedily to full recovery. Send them healing of soul, healing of body, and healing of spirit. And we say, Amen. And I would invite you, if you would like, to unmute yourself to share the names of those whose healing you are praying for this Shabbat, or as some of you have begun to do, to type their names in our chat box before we join together in the words of Misha Berach.
Where?
Dr. Nan Zaitman, Freda Vieira, Rabbi Morley, Josh Mills.
No, okay, forget it.
Just go back. Backspace.
Jack Ader.
Where are we?
Marilyn Schwedel,
Sharon Elstein. Dennis Pessin.
May they all find a refuah shlema. You can continue to type names into our chat box as we now listen to the words of Misha Berach.
Miles Gordon.
Oh, yeah.
Some of you may have recognized that picture that comes from the movie Hook. Some of you remember the movie Hook? It was a sequel to Peter Pan, where an adult Peter, played by Robin Williams, whose face you saw there, blessed memory, must return to Neverland to save his children who have been kidnapped by Captain Hook, played by Dustin Hoffman. But before he could save them, the now adult Peter, who has grown up to become a kind of corporate pirate, actually, must remember who he is, that he is indeed Peter Pan. He must reconnect with his identity and remember that which is authentic and essential to him and to who he is. Of course, he eventually does remember, saves his children, and returns to London with them. Which brings me to one of my favorite movie scenes. Peter is escorted back to London by Tinker Bell, Julia Roberts. And there, just as the sun is rising, Tink prepares to take leave of Peter Pan, perhaps for the last time. And he asks if he will ever see her again. And she beautifully replies, "You know that place between sleep and awake? That place where you still remember dreaming? That's the place where I will always love you, Peter Pan. That's where I'll be waiting." Tinker Bell resides for Peter in a liminal space, that space between sleep and awake, a transitional place between what was and what will be. And this is where we find the Israelites this week. In fact, it is where we will find the Israelites for the next several weeks as they exist in their own liminal space for the entire book of Deuteronomy. The Israelites, these Israelites born in the wilderness, born of the parents who experienced the Exodus, are neither here nor there. They find themselves on the border, no longer in the wilderness, but not quite yet in the promised land either. They find themselves in a moment of transition, moving from what was to what will be. Borders, places of transition, play a very significant role in the biblical narrative. Jacob's life, just to cite one example, is defined by his experiences on the border. There, on his way out of the promised land, fleeing his brother, who he is afraid will kill him, he dreams of angels going up and down a ladder. And 20 years later, on his way back, again to meet the same brother, he is involved in a wrestling match on the border on the evening before he meets him. Borders, points of transition, are fluid places. They are liminal moments, open to possibility and open to change. And it is here in such a place and at such a moment that we encounter Moses and the Israelites as we begin the book of Deuteronomy. Moses is at a most significant moment of transition, of course, in his own life. He knows he has reached the end of his life. He is about to hand over the reins of leadership to Joshua and to watch a new generation move on into the promised land without him. He is in so many ways like his people. He is neither here nor there. He's stuck in an in-between moment, in a liminal moment. And this fluid transitional moment is filled with potential and possibility. And so Moses wants to take advantage of it as he prepares to send his people off into their future. In this liminal moment, he pauses to remind them who they are, who they have become, where they came from, where they are going, and how they can successfully move forward into that promised land by becoming the best and most authentic version of themselves. Interestingly enough, this week's Haftarah, the Haftarah that accompanies this week's Torah portion, bookends the Torah portion. In it, we find the prophet Isaiah in the 7th century BCE at a much darker liminal moment as the Israelites are about to exit the promised land that they are about to enter in the Torah portion, forced out back across the borders by the Assyrians, who will conquer the nation and destroy the temple. Like Peter Pan in the movie Hook, the Israelites have forgotten who they are in our Haftarah. Isaiah blames them for the tragedy that's about to befall them, pointing out how miserably they have failed, chastising them for not living up to the expectations God has set out for them on the border of the promised land, failing to be their best and most authentic selves. Our Torah and Haftarah portions this week take us from the liminal moment just before the creation of the nation to the liminal moment just before its demise. And what is the common denominator? What is it that links these two texts together? Well, some would say it's words. Words. Divarim in Hebrew, which just happens to be the name of this week's Torah portion. Moses urges his Israelites forward towards words and actions of support, words and actions of justice, of love, and of compassion, in order to build the land into a place of promise. And instead, as we hear from Isaiah, they have used words to demean, to tear down. And ultimately, as our tradition would have it, it is the destructive force of the Israelites' words that leads to the downfall of the nation, weakening the ties that bind them, becoming a source of anger and mistrust, of division and rancor, and ultimately leading to their conquest and to the destruction of the temple. This dramatic presentation of the power of words to either destroy or create comes also at a dramatic transition moment in our own annual cycle journey through the Jewish year. The reading of these two texts always occurs on this Shabbat, the Shabbat that precedes Tisha B'Av, the day that commemorates so many tragedies that have befallen the Jewish people, beginning, of course, with the aforementioned conquest and destruction of the temple. Unlike our Torah and Haftarah, which takes us from the high point of entering the land to the low point of our exile from it, Tisha B'Av goes in the other direction, taking us from nadir to apex, as it marks the beginning of our transition into a new year. We start from the ultimate low, the destruction of the temple, the tragedies that have befallen us, that have been understood by our tradition as being caused by us, by the way we treat each other, and journey over the coming weeks to a most dramatic high point with the beginning of a new year, from a moment of lament to a moment of joy. As we begin that journey this coming Wednesday night, we have the cautionary tale of our ancestors to serve as our guide. Like them, we approach a moment of transition, coming closer in the next weeks to the new year. We find ourselves more and more in a liminal moment of our own, neither here in a year quickly fading, nor there in a year yet to come. As we do so, we are challenged to carefully measure our divarim, to measure our words. Do they express that which is most authentically us? Do we use our words to bring out the best in others, to support and foster them, to support and foster ourselves? This week's Torah and Haftarah seem to be asking, will we be the Israelites of Isaiah, callous, mean-spirited, diseased, or the Israelites of Moses, eagerly awaiting entry into a land of promise that we must build through our words of praise, support, of love and healing and blessing? In the movie Hook, as Peter Pan struggles to remember who he is, the lost boys too struggle to understand who this man is that Tinkerbell has literally dropped into their midst. Finally, at one point, the littlest of the lost boys squishes Peter's face back, literally squishes his face back, looking deeply at him and investigating in his face, and proclaims, "Oh, There you are, Peter. Well, in some ways, that is the task that we take on once again. One that begins Wednesday night with Tisha B'Av, with acknowledging the ways we may have wandered off and lost our way. We begin there, and I pray that we may be like Peter Pan over the coming weeks, that we might find our way back to our best and most authentic selves, because we know that is where God will always love us. That is where God is waiting. Shabbat Shalom. We turn now to the Aleinu that reminds us that the journey we make always is on us. It is on us. And how poignantly we are reminded of that this Wednesday night as we begin at a low point, considering all that has befallen us, and begin to move towards that high point that we can claim and create if we realize that indeed it is on us. We'll join together now in the Aleinu and invite you, if you would like to, if you are able where you are, to please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol. Aleinu, it is on us to bow in praise before God as a sign of reverence and perhaps submission. It is on us to bend our knees only in reverence for life and only for submission to that which is good.
Aleinu, it is on us. Our sages teach that the angels have no knees. Their legs do not bend. They do not need knees because their entire purpose is to stand tall before God in service. But we are not these kinds of angels. We bend under the weight of our shoulders. We let this twisted world twist us into knowing that our service to God comes not only in the form of thoughts and prayers, but in the form of action.
Aleinu, it is on us. V'anachnu korim, we bend our knee. Umishtachavim, we bow at the waist. Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, we stand straight before God. Hakadosh Baruch Hu, we who are made in God's image must be holy because God is holy. So we rise to repair this very broken world. We stand straight because we can. We stand up because we must.
Aleinu, it is on us. We bend our knees before the God of love in devotion and in disruption, in protest and in praise, from shame to shlemut, wholeness. We rise before the God of truth to march and to move, to bend this broken arc toward justice.
Aleinu, it is on us. Bent knees are for showing reverence, to prostrate in peaceful protest, to prepare us for moving, to prepare us for marching. Bent knees are not for killing. God did not make knees or any other part of us for that. Aleinu, it is on us.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We turn now to words of memory, remembering those whose shoulders we stand upon, who have blessed us, and as we remember them and call them to mind, continue to bless our journey through life. We first remember those who have been lost in recent days, whose families are in the period of Shiva or Shloshim, the first 30 days of 7 days or 30 days of mourning. We remember Phyllis Goldstein, wife of Percy Goldstein, Zichrono Livracha, mother of Barbara Carroll and Mary Ann. We remember J. Daniel Hertz, father of Abby and David, grandfather of Mara and Judah. We remember Rosia Nickberg, wife of Elliot, mother of Adina and Jerry, grandmother of Julie. And we remember Cantor Stephen Scher. We also call to mind those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of their passing, falls at this time of year on this Shabbat. We remember Feruza Afar, Naim Afari, Paula Alter, Philip Anderson, Wolf Davidoff, Eli Ellison, Ralph Feinstein, Helen Freeman, Roland Greenberg, Aaron Horowitz, Albert Karmazin, Rose Kay, Milton Kifferstein, Theodore Kraut, Lottie Levy, Arnold Mullen, Milton Nadich, Ruth Rossman, Eva Rumelson, Nane Sadeghi, Roy Shapira, Jean Schrager, Joel Sheldon, Rose Shamstein, Joseph Seneko, Nassim Sisa, Pauline Stern, and Philip Wexler. Before we join together in our words of remembrance, in words of Kaddish, if you are saying Kaddish this Shabbat for a loved one whose name we have not yet mentioned, I invite you to unmute yourself and to share their name with us, to type their name in our chat box. And so we say of all our loved ones, Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be always for blessing. We join together. Yit Gadal, Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma Divrach, Yerutei, B'yamlich Malchutei, B'chayechon V'yomechon, B'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, B'agala V'zman Kari V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah, M'vorach Le'olam, U'amei Almaya, Yit Barach, V'ish Tabach, V'yit Pa'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yit Hadar, V'yit Aleh, V'yit Halal, Shemei D'kudsha B'reichu. Le'elam in kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechamata. Da'amira be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to all the bereaved among us, as we say, Amen. We turn now to the sweetness and blessing of this moment as we sanctify this day and give thanks for the blessing of community that we share in this moment and that we share always, even when we are so distant from each other, knowing that we have this blessed sweetness of communities to share between us. I invite you to lift your own Kiddush cup at home, wherever you are, and join with the cantor as we join together in Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava v'ratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. L'chaim. Shabbat shalom. Take up your own challah or put your hands towards the screen. We'll join together.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ.
Amen. Shabbat shalom. These words remind us, these words that come at the end of the Kaddish, pray not only to the source of peace that we might find peace, but as all our prayers do remind us that it is our obligation to bring that peace into the world, to replicate the actions of the source of peace and to be a maker of peace on our own. Join together in Oseh Shalom.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'himru.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Here are just some upcoming events at University Synagogue. Of course, all of our events are available for you to find on the homepage of our website, also at jewittathome.com, where there are many offerings from communities all over the world. So please join with us. Take advantage of the opportunity to learn and grow. And well, it's getting to be time to prepare for the High Holy Days. And lots of information will be coming out about that very soon. So watch your emails for that information as well. And we're going to invite you now to unmute yourself and to, I should say, actually, first of all, I don't say it often enough. Thank you to the person behind the scenes, Ashley, who was hiding back there somewhere running the PowerPoint. So thank you, Ashley, and to Susan as well for your beautiful music and for helping us with our PowerPoint and or helping us with our Zoom, I should say. It's always great to have you all here. And
Matt,
yeah,
Pleasure.
I hear Susan laughing actually.
I do too.
So,
We all hear Susan laughing.
Good
And
to meet
Dan too, for that matter.
and of course,
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank
yeah,
you.
Shabbat
for
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom to the
Beautiful service. Bye. Bye.